Hey guys, welcome back. So last week was a pretty interesting week. Had a pretty bullish Monday and Wednesday, then we had the CPI report. We came in hotter than expected, which ended up resulting in holding below this bullish level. We sold off into the next level of support, but as we've discussed in the past, we still have not actually broken triggered short. This 5170 level, still the level to go break down, and you can see that we pretty much have not done so. So I mean, at this juncture, I mean, given that we've not broken this, I mean the trend is still intact. If you look at the wicks, you can see here this was pretty much the level that it had to stay above, like close over to continue higher. You can see that we pretty much had a hard rejection. On the 4 hour, you can see that we pretty much had a bearish, engulfing close, and we've gapped down. So I mean, it's this level on the wicks is important and could be a tell of future direction. And you can see here that it's pretty much was the level that the market has been rejecting. So if wicks can somehow defend here, then it can definitely, press higher. Otherwise, what looks more likely on this chart pattern is the fact that we have not, this is a hard rejection, this inside bar candle, we are just opening lower. So if we do follow through below this key level of area that's acted as resistance, we very like come back down to 14. If we do come down to 14, that means that, the market is very likely still in a very bullish trend, and we like follow this green path rather than this red path. Like I mean, we are having an oversold bounce, which is okay. You can see here, if we draw a trend line for the market to be bullish and to go long, you would need to, you can see here, even as I zoom in, you'll be able to see that these are basically the EMA clouds, which is nothing but, moving averages. And you can see here, this is also an area of resistance. So I'd say get back over this trend line and break above this resistance level, 5257, and we have this path above confirmed. And again, if you are bearish, look for a rejection again, either here at 5225 or at 5255, right? One of these two levels will hold this resistance. If it does, and you have a hard rejection, be very likely come back down into 5,000. So those are the two models I am looking at. Even the dollar, we did have that follow through higher into that fib resistance level into 106, but just like the wicks, we are having kind of a hard rejection at resistance. So it will kind of be interesting to see how it plays out. You can see this is the 1.272 fib, which could make this an ABC, which means this could be the end of the upward wave. Ideally, right, you break this high and then it's very likely that we hit 108 at least, but we need to see how the dollar behaves. If it continues to sell off, then the market might keep continuing to get bid higher. We look at the 10-year yields, and yeah, we bounced like off the bottom and we went to the top of the channel, but as you can see here, we're at the top of this channel. Generally, every time we've hit the top of this, we come to the lower bottom of the channel, which again is market bullish. So again, if you can break above 4.6, then obviously there's going to be a lot of selling in the market. So those are kind of your pivot levels, 4.6, and break below 4.5, and then market starts to get bullish again. With all that being said, that's kind of why I have these two paths highlighted. Ideally, if you want to go short, I'd wait for this to break, and then there's a much better short waiting. And yeah, the long needs to prove itself, but the way the market is looking, it looks like the market just kind of wants to like shrug off last week and head bullish into earnings. So yeah, let's look at the first stock on this week's watch list. And I have Google again as relatively didn't sell off, whether the market was more bearish. So as long as for me, right, as long as we can stay above this 156, even 155, as long as we stay above 155.5, I do think that Google, it has broken all-time highs. So it will, it is very strong. It is in trend. So if we do get that oversold bounce, Google should be some of the few stocks that continues higher. You can see that we had a breakout last week. So as long as we stay above 156, Google should continue to push into 160 and 165. So that's why I have Google on the 6 watch list. If we can stay over that level, we'll continue to move higher. And if you are thinking it is overbought and you're looking for a short. So yeah, just kind of wait for like 155 to break and then maybe you could short it. Otherwise, it looks bullish for to me at least. Tesla, on the other hand, we were looking to see if we break above 175 to push higher, and you can kind of see why, I was stressing on waiting to see. We barely, even though we broke higher, we immediately broke down. That's the reason, Tesla can't be trusted. And it is. And we do something to keep a note on. Also know that we do have an earnings gap that's unfilled till 146. So again, it's not looking great, though it is holding above this channel. It's looking pretty weak to me, which means given that it has, squeeze mode, it will have a nice move, bullish or bearish, which is why I have it on this week's watch list. And it does have earnings coming up next week. So keep an eye on it. We could very likely fill this earnings gap before it decides to bounce. Or something that's also possible is that we, have this fake bounce higher. If again, this is only if it can get above 175, 176. Can we even have that bounce to 200 before earnings and then it sells on earnings? So they're kind of the two versions I'm kind of looking at on Tesla before earnings. But yeah, basically above 175, we're bullish till 187, but I'm thinking it's more bearish than bullish. But yeah, let's see which way it breaks. Below 168, we come down to 162, and possibly we come down to even 150, fill this gap before it bounces. The next one I have is AMD, and I think this is more likely going to bounce because I have shown you this channel many times in the past, right? And we have had an extended sell-off. So I do think that we likely bounce off the bottom of this channel, at least in the short term, right? As the market has an oversold bounce. So as long as, we get above 164, 165, I think at minimum, right, we can push into 170, 171. And if we're even more bullish, we could try 180, right? And we must hold over 162. Below 162, we can start to get bearish like here, right? This is important support level. Generally, you do tend to have at least an oversold bounce. So that's kind of why I put calls, right? At least in the short term, you could have an oversold bounce off the bottom of the channel. So yeah, that's why I have AMD on this week's watch list. Last but not the least, I actually have J&J. Again, the reason for this is if you go look at the weekly chart of J&J, you can see that pretty much we tried to break out. We failed. We went sideways. And now you can see the minute we broke this support level here at 154, the market is triggering, trying to trigger a sell-off. So J&J does, continue to look bearish. I think on the bigger picture, any bounce looks like an easy short, right? I think J&J is pretty messed up for the next 2 years. It will eventually come down to 109, which I know is kind of a great prediction, 30%. But yeah, I think it's going to drop 30% within the year. I mean, in the next year or so. So, I mean, yeah, we are the next level. It does have a little bit of support here. I do think we will probably be weak, probably a $3-4 short. You could get on J&J and then it'll probably have a minor bounce, but this is definitely worth watching for a long-term short on J&J. Like any bounce for me personally looks like a good short. The greatest, the best probable entry point would be if it tries to bounce again and we come up to 163, I would definitely, kind of put an alert to, reshort it. And obviously you could have like a little bit of stop at 165. If it doesn't, then you're wrong. But if it does, then it has a very large downside. So it's kind of how I would play it, bigger picture. But yeah, on the smaller time frame too, I do think that such kind of weakness, like it will probably get rejected at 149 and come back down to like 1. All right, guys. That's all I have for this week. I hope you have a great.
Subscribe to Leduc Trading YouTube channel for more Wolf's weekly Wavelist videos and other content.